How long do you think it takes to turn marvelous, cooperative, wonderful, and thoughtful 8-year-olds into nasty, vicious, and discriminating little kids? The answer isn't years or months, but just 15 minutes. We have previously learned about the Calhoun effect, where the disappearance of meaningful roles and social structure destroyed a population from within. Today, we will step out of the laboratory and into the real human world through a shocking experiment that reveals how easily hate can spread and how we can forge the deepest human connections. In April 1968, the day after civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, in the small farming town of Riceville, Iowa, a third-grade teacher named Jane Elliott realized that simply standing in front of the classroom and talking about racism was not enough. She decided to teach her students a concrete lesson by forcing them to walk in someone else's moccasins to truly understand the pain of prejudice. Thus, a microcosm of society was established right inside her classroom. Elliott divided her class based on a random physical trait, eye color. On the first day, she firmly declared that the blue-eyed people were the better and smarter people. Privileges were immediately granted. Blue-eyed children received 5 extra minutes of recess, while brown-eyed children were not allowed to use the drinking fountain and could not play with the blue-eyed kids because they were deemed not as good. To make the distinction obvious from a distance, the brown-eyed children were forced to wear fabric collars. A caste system was formed, and the dark side of human psychology began to surface. The emotional contagion took hold at a terrifying speed. Jane Elliott herself was stunned as she watched her wonderful children turn into vicious, discriminating little third graders in the space of just 15 minutes. The blue-eyed kids began to mock their peers, using the term brown eyes as a slur, and physical fights even broke out on the playground. But the worst part was not just the physical violence, it was the psychological and academic collapse. The brown-eyed children, who were usually lively, suddenly felt demoralized, humiliated, and felt as if their best friends had been taken away. During a phonics exercise, the brown-eyed group was pushed into the low class and took 5.5 minutes to get through a card pack. Their minds were shackled by the very collars they were wearing. On the second day, the experiment took a stunning turn. The teacher walked in and announced she had lied the day before, and that the truth was that brown-eyed people were actually smarter and better than blue-eyed people. The collars were immediately taken off the brown-eyed children and placed onto the blue-eyed ones. The privileges were reversed. Instantly, fueled by the strong belief that they were superior, the brown-eyed children finished the exact same phonics exercise in just 2.5 minutes, more than twice as fast as the day before. Their actual academic ability had been drastically altered in a mere 24 hours, entirely because of the beliefs the system had implanted in their heads. At the end of that day, the teacher had everyone take off their collars. The children hugged each other, and some cried because the burden was finally lifted. 14 years later, in 1984, those former students, now adults, held a reunion. The childhood experiment had not ruined them. Instead, it created an incredibly strong human connection. Having to endure the agony of being looked down upon turned them into instant cousins. They knew exactly how terrifying it felt to be hurt, and they refused to inflict that pain on anyone else. These former students affirmed that the lesson helped them build better families, and they consistently teach their own children never to judge a person by their outside appearance. All barriers that divide people are built within the mind. Empathy can spread just as easily as hatred through our neural reflections, as long as we are willing to step into the position of others. In modern society, are we unknowingly putting invisible collars on each other?